Hello and welcome. I'm Randy Bueller.
And
I'm joined by not Andy Probasco, but Brian Kelly, reigning Vintage World Champion and the newest member of the Vintage Super League. Congratulations.
hi everybody. Thank you. I'm sorry for my play error in the last game. It I think my brain just kind of turned to mush, and it's like 2 in the morning here on the
Yeah,
East
you're
Coast.
East Coast, right?
Yes,
Do you have a day job you have to get up for?
yes, but I don't have to get up tomorrow at 8. I made accommodations because I expected that this would go a little bit later. I work with my brother, so
Okay.
yeah.
What do you do when you're not crushing people at Vintage?
When I'm not crushing people at Vintage, well, okay, hold on, I'm tired. um,
Look,
I started as a musician. I went to school for computer science. Then I went to law school. Then I passed the bar. Then I worked in Philadelphia in civil rights. And then I moved back here. I worked with my dad. My dad is a politician. He's actually kind of conservative. We're on separate ends of certain spectrums, but we get along fabulously. I love my father.
okay.
And everything that he does, even if he adopts a position that I disagree with, I know that he's doing it for reasons that are intrinsically good. He's not a hater. He just,
Okay. But so you work with your brother?
yeah, my brother's also an attorney. He started a law firm 7 years, I don't know, 6 years ago. It's 2016. See, this is the thing about getting old. It's like you have it in your brain that a certain person is a certain age, and then like you try to remember all these details. The more years go by, and you're like, wait a minute, no, this actress is 55, so that's
Look,
17 years ago.
I'm not so sure that's the thing about getting old. I'm not sure. I'm definitely pretty sure I would not call you old. I think it's more of a 2:30 a.m. thing. Well, look, we,
Um,
we super
okay, but
appreciate you staying up and
I
and chatting with
appreciate it,
us.
and people have said that it's nice that they're seeing a high caliber of play, and I know that I believe that I was playing well the past 2 times I was on here, and I don't think I played terribly during the Hate Bears matchup. I just had a hand that didn't intersect well with that one particular Hate Bear with the mental misstep too. Like I was really all in on, all right, you have this Hate Bear, but you can't have the mental misstep too. Please don't have the mental misstep. But he had the mental misstep, and you know when that happens, you just lose. That's life. That's life in a world of Hate Bears. That's why they call them
Yeah,
Hate Bears.
totally
Um,
fair.
so anyway, so I do regret that. Like I don't know where my brain was, but I was looking at the wasteland and I was thinking in terms of the smokestack, and I was like, oh my god! Like I spent all game waiting to force of will anything that could generate non-shop mana. Like if he played a mana crypt or an expedition map, so that he could like I would have been like force that. I would have pitched the other force, and then he played the
Sure.
wasteland, and for some reason I just had that brain thing happen where I'm like, okay, well he still can't create Merit Lage, and even if he does, I have repeal and I'm gonna kill him. And it was just like, oh wait a minute, Wasteland generates mana. That's what it was. It was like I was like, oh, Wasteland generates mana because I saw it there and I was like thinking like, oh crap, how many permanents am I gonna have to sacrifice if you waste this and waste that? And then I tried to repeal something and like Magic Online was all crazy, so like I just momentarily zoomed out. It was a stupid thing. It was a clearly incorrect play.
Yeah,
I
look,
definitely made a mistake.
you got
Um,
away with it. Yes, you punted game two. It happens. We've all been there.
it happens. I, I've done it before. I've made a few mistakes before, and
And you know what? You're gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again. Everybody watching is gonna do it again.
I mean that was really boneheaded, but I guess that's just what happens after your brain has turned to mush. So try to
Look,
not have your brain turn to mush. Stay hydrated. I usually do. Uh, you know,
I will
avoid.
say that you've been playing great. I mean, I think people have definitely commented on how well you've been playing, and listening to you talk about your approach to vintage has also been fun in the commentary booth. I know last week you got a lot of compliments there as well. So we're certainly happy to have you in the league moving forward. You get next week off. Get to watch people play a last chance qualifier to be for that 10th spot in the league. Before you
Awesome.
get that off time though, we have one match left tonight, the fourth of our four consecutive win-and-ins, the seventh of our marathon matches. I knew seven was the most matches we'd ever played. I thought, it might make for a long show, but this is thoroughly unprecedented. The thing is, this would have been the longest 5-match show. At 5 matches, I think this would have been the longest show we'd ever done. We never
Hmm.
average an hour a match. We usually
No.
average like, 30 to 45 minutes a match. Maybe it's 40 on average or something. I think of our 5-match show as being, 3 hours and change. And
Right.
now
Yeah.
we've played 6 matches in 6.5 hours. This is crazy.
We had house guests here, and I knew that I wasn't even starting until round 4. And we actually put Twitch on the television downstairs while we were eating. But like I was kind of paying attention, but also trying to pay attention to the conversation because we
Sure.
had a little dinner thing here. And then I looked over, I was eating my salad, and I was like, why is Rich Shea playing Reed Duke? I don't think either of them are in the tournament.
It's true. It is true. We did get
Mhm.
off to a late start. Shuhei did not show up in time for his match. And look, the guy's been arranging his life, calling in from Japan. I decided to give him a little bit of leeway, so we played
Sure.
a
Yeah.
bonus match just to kind of stall and see if Shuhei was going to show up, or if our match 2 competitors had shown up, we would have started that up. But Shuhei showed up about 30 minutes late, so we had time for the one fun game of Reed almost but not quite beating Rich Shea. It's really an
It
8-match show.
happens. Life comes up. I think that's fine. I'm flexible. You have to be flexible.
Yeah, but now here we are. Last match of the night. Is David Williams going to reclaim his spot in the Vintage Super League, or is Shuhei Nakamura going to parlay that Asia Vintage Championship into a seat in our league?
So at the end
Coming
of
right
our
up. Let's see
long
what
round,
happens.
we have land still for everybody.
Yeah, I think our players are ready, so it is in fact going to be
All right.
yoga. Here we are. David Williams with Landstill on the bottom of the screen. Shuhei Nakamura with an Oath deck that I think you're fairly familiar with. He's pretty much copied the deck that you used to win the Vintage World Championships last fall. What do you think of these draws?
Um,
Oh, wow. Shuhei has everything. Shuhei has turn 1
he
Oath
doesn't
of
have a
Druids.
blue card for his force. I think with this
Fair.
hand, I don't know who's on the play or the draw.
David's on the play, but David does not have any permission. You're right. Shuhei does not have a blue card to go with his Force of Will to defend this turn 1 Oath.
Right.
But, now he does. He's just got everything.
Oh, he can just go Mox Orchard Oath, or if he's very conservative, he could play a fetch land, Pearl, and do it with a Flusterstorm. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Hands like that, I've seen Shuhei getting a lot of them. And I've played this deck for such a long time. I think Orchard Mox Oath is 15% of opening hands that you get with Oath, and then with the Force backup and the blue card on top of that, that's he is blessed. We'll say that.
Yeah, that is kind of the nuts.
I think I had Orchard Mox Oath once during champs. Maybe it was against Will McGran, a shop player, and my hand was terrible. Like, it had no mana and it had useless counter spells. And then the 7th card that I drew was for an Orchard, and I'm like, oh, there it is, Orchard Mox Oath.
Yeah, that is about as good as you can draw it up from the Oath player's point of view. Now, does David have? I mean, he can plow the Spirit Token and deny Shuhei an Oath for a turn, but that doesn't feel like a good long-term plan. Can he get anywhere plowing the creatures that Shuhei's going to Oath up? Like,
sometimes, yeah. He can make it difficult for Shuhei because Shuhei is only playing 2 creatures. I don't play less than 2 creatures because you get these winning hands, and sometimes if you're not playing enough creatures, you can mill yourself. And
you had 3 when you won champs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I also had 2 dig through times. Some people play things like Memory's Journey or Gaia's Blessing to ensure that they don't mill themselves when they activate Oath of Druids. Dig Through Time served that function in a way that having 2 Dig Through Times, you can forecast what's on the bottom of your library. Because Dig Through Time puts 5 cards on the bottom of your library.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you wouldn't have to play a bad card like Memory's Journey or Gaia's Blessing.
Williams decided that Swords to Plowshare on the Spirit Token was the way he wanted to play this. So denying Shuhei an Oath activation.
Yeah, that is not a good long-term strategy
right?
unless you have a wasteland. Is he really
Sure.
going to play a monastery mentor? Maybe a standstill.
No, I think the line is mentor. Now, he bought himself a turn, so if his plan was to try to go wide with mentor, then I
Mm-hmm.
get the Swords to Plowshares makes more sense. Right now, Shuhei gets to Oath, but David is threatening. He needs to probably top deck a Time Lock to pull this off. Also, the fact that Shuhei is Force of Will Flusterstorm is not exactly good news for David. Grizzlebrand was the creature. 32
See, now we
cards
have
left in
this.
his library.
I don't know if he played the Volcanic Island last turn. He probably should have played the Fetch Land if he did play the Volcanic Island, because before you mill, you have to make sure that you're not depleting your library of fetch lands, because that can also happen with Oath of Druids. You put your fetch land into play, you think, oh, I have mana here, it's safe from Wasteland. I'll activate my Oath of Druids, and then you have 12 cards left in your library, and oops, no fetch
Oops.
land.
Shuhei top decked a Treasure Cruise after putting all that fuel into his graveyard. So Delve very much
Well,
turned on.
not very impressive when you have Grizzlebrand in play.
Why spend 1 mana for 3 cards when you can spend 0 mana for 7?
Yeah,
It's a fair
precisely.
point. Unbelievable. Okay, he found the REX Salvagers.
Yes.
So he can't Oath again. I probably don't. I mean, not that he really needs to. I guess he could hypothetically stitch together a kill right now with the Salvagers.
Um, let's see. Is the Lotus in the graveyard?
That yes, the Black Lotus is in the graveyard. So is the Pyrite Spellbomb. So the combo's there. Yeah, if Williams doesn't have anything, Shuhei can play Auriok Salvagers. He can spend 1 and a white to get Black Lotus back, play it, sack it for 3 white, and now 2 white turns into 3, 2 white turns into 3. Williams, though, sees this coming. He knows how the combo works. He's going to try to stop the Salvagers so that he at least gets to untap and draw a card.
I might Flusterstorm the Force. Like, even though you wouldn't win on the spot,
You could force it and then still have the 2 mana to get the combo going.
I know, but if David Williams has something ridiculous like Mindbreak Trap, I think he had a Mindbreak Trap in his list, and Mindbreak Trap shuts down the Aria combos. So a lot of times I play these things more conservatively when I'm playing well. I'm like, well, okay, I'm not going to blow my Force of Will because I'm not going to like have to kill you this turn. I'll keep my Force of Will, and I will Flusterstorm your Force, which is more value, and just pass the turn with Auriok and Grizzlebrand in play while you're sitting there with 2 cards in hand and a Monastery Mentor that's, you know, not really connecting with his audience. Like, the monk is supposed to invite people to the monastery and teach them and they get more powerful, and we see that that monk there is indeed a false prophet.
So Shuhei demonstrates the combo. He picks up the Black Lotus. He plays the Black Lotus. David can see that the Spell Bomb is in the graveyard. He's not going to make Shuhei go through the motions of the combo. So Shuhei Nakamura is now 1 game away from a seat in the Vintage Super League. David Williams going to have to win 2 straight if he wants to reclaim that spot. How does sideboarding change this matchup?
Well, there are differences between our builds. In this matchup, I of course love Dragon Lord Dramoga.
That was the 3rd creature you had at Champs, right?
Mm-hmm. Dragon Lord Dramoga is phenomenal. Just phenomenal. And she herself is a phenomenon. I mean, she has been played, she's probably been played in as many archetypes in Vintage as Mental Misstep. I have seen her in Oath of Druids. I've seen her in Hate Bears. I've seen her in Reanimator. I've seen her in Tolarian Academy, Living Wish, Tezzeret, where it's like, here's Dramoka, you can't counter my Tezzeret or my Time Vault. I've seen her, there was Dredge. There was a Dredge build called Dungeons and Dragons.
It really?
Yes. Awesome. It top 8'd at an invitational event in Michigan, I believe.
Okay.
And it had 5 Dragon Lords. It was a transformational Dredge sideboard. But whoever designed the deck knew that Dromoka was the #1 Dragon Lord on the block because 3 copies of those Dragon Lords were Dromoka. Then there was 1 Ojutai, and either 1 Kolaghan or Salumgar. It did really well.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
It was like Dredge, and then it was also Dak Faden with Dragon Lords. So apparently, Undiscovered Paradise and Mana Confluence. There's a lot of overlap, I guess, between things you can do with them.
Does open up a lot of options. That does sound kind of cool.
But against Landstill, you don't get to activate Oath of Druids often off of creatures that they give you voluntarily as you would against a Workshop player, a Fish player, a Delver, or a Pyromancer player. So Oath of Druids itself is really only one half of the combo. And then they have so many Wastelands. It's not really a great matchup. That's why when I play Landstill, I approach it more from the half of the deck that is more of a Jace Bomberman control deck. I think I might even board out some Oath of Druids. Because they're going to think you're Oath of Druids, I'm going to bring in all of my heat deck, and that's when I like to go more into the Broken Blue style, where I would focus more on Jaces and... Oof. Alright.
Yeah, that draw is not nearly as good for Shuhei. Grizzlebrand, only a Mox Sapphire for mana. That seems like it. He's got both his creatures. Easy mulligan.
These hands are hideous.
Yeah, Williams' hand.
I mean, they're bad hands.
I guess it's better than Shuhei's, but I don't think you can keep either of these, right?
No. Yeah, there's like enough there that can tempt you to maybe want to keep either of them. But
okay. Williams mulligans into Crucible Strip Mine plus Ancestral with a misstep. Yeah, these 6-card hands are a little better. Shuhei's is mildly sketchy. I mean, he's kind of depending on a Soul Ring to resolve to have mana.
Well,
interesting.
Oh, Jesus. David has.
Yeah, he's got. Hand. I mean, you lead Ancestral.
Lotus Crucible Strip Mine.
Right, with plus Ancestral and misstep. It's great. So which do you play first? Which one do you offer up if your opponent has a Force of Will? The Ancestral or the Crucible? I offer the Ancestral. Yeah, I think this is right. If he wants to use his Force of Will to stop my Ancestral, great. I'd rather have Crucible Strip running anyway. Misstep, no problem. We got that covered with this Mental Misstep. Now, this is going to resolve. Just going to make David feel great. Now he's even got a Force of Will, which means this Crucible is also going to resolve. Wow, and the misstep for Shuhei Soul Ring? I think you misstep Soul Ring here. We'll see how David plays this. Like, he's got Crucible Strip Mine, so Artifact Mana is kind of his enemy now.
Mm-hmm.
Shuhei does not draw a land. Emerald?
It's not over, though, because if he does misstep the Soul Ring, he doesn't have a blue card.
Exactly, and that's why I think this is a legit debate. I honestly don't know if David is supposed to misstep it. I mean, seeing the hands, obviously, David Williams fans kind of want him to misstep it, but it's a legit judgment call in my mind. Like, losing your last blue card when you don't know, like, what's Shuhei going to follow up with? Is he going to follow up with an Orchard and another Oath of Druids?
Mm-hmm. Or an Ancestral of his own.
I think the fact that your plan is Crucible Strip, though,
agreed. And I don't like
so much value in misstepping.
I don't like my opponents having Soul Ring or Mana Crypt in play. I think that they're far more dangerous than they're often given credit. I have Force of Willed them before, and usually won games because of it, even though it's counterintuitive that you would two for one yourself. Oh, jeez.
Shuhei continues to draw artifact mana. Kind of crazy. Wow, do you Force of Will Black Lotus? How insane is this?
I don't know. If he does, he's at risk for Orchard Oath.
Right. But if he doesn't, it turns he's going to get Ponder and Oath. Wow. Yeah, that's another tough judgment call. This is like, there aren't a lot of spots where you Force of Will Black Lotus, but this is one where
There
You
are
have to
some.
think about it, right? Your opponent did not play a land on turn 1.
It's
That's the crucial information. There's no way he's got Orchard Oath because he would have played the Orchard on turn 1. He's not going to just
not
not play a
necessarily.
land.
He could, if he saw the Crucible, he could have sandbagged it.
But he didn't see a waste or a strip.
All he has to draw is Forbidden. Oh, that's so sick. He just has to draw a Forbidden Orchard, and he would like win the game.
Orchard is now insane. Orchard off the top is completely insane.
I hope he draws a Forbidden Orchard.
I don't know how many friends you're making in the chat right now, Brian. David has his fair share of fans.
Everyone has been in Shuhei's position. Not necessarily piloting that deck, but where you're playing against a landstill player, and you just...
He got to draw Orchard, Mox, Oath in game 1.
Ugh.
Yeah, Williams keeps thinning. Obviously, Crucible is allowing him to put fetch land into play every turn. Shuhei balance. Yeah, if Forbidden Orchard for Oath of Druids is the nut draw for Shuhei. The running joke all night has been the best card in Vintage is whatever's on top of Shuhei's library.
I think it's Spirit of the Labyrinth.
There's the Mana Drain. Now David has Oath of Druids covered. And it's going to be much harder for Shuhei to get out of this. Yeah, Shuhei's game plan now is... I don't even know what his game plan... There's no one top deck that does it through a Mana Drain. I guess he needs to draw a Force of Will followed by the Orchard.
Tolarian Academy would be interesting.
Certainly turns on his cantrips.
Arcane,
oh, wow.
Sorry.
Brought in the Arcane Lab. That does turn off the Bomberman combo.
It sure does.
Does not turn off Grizzlebrand's ability to attack you 2 or 3 times.
But it doesn't stop Bomberman from bringing back Engineered Explosives at 3 every turn and blowing up your Arcane Lab and your Crucible.
That's fair.
Alright. Okay. Oh, man, that's gross.
Yeah, Shuhei has decided he needs to break the standstill. He finally drew a fetch land. He wants to start playing some spells. Standstill gave Williams a second Mana Drain and a Containment Priest. Not bad. And now he's going to Mana Drain the Jet.
That's cute, but that's too aggressive.
You think?
Mm-hmm. You only have 1 counter spell, and your opponent just broke your standstill with 8 cards in hand. I wouldn't have done that.
You're now down to 1 counterspell. It was one of your 2 counterspells.
Yeah, he's down to 1 now. He had 2.
Yeah, still might be too cute. I don't know that I disagree with you. Shuhei goes for the Oath. David has Containment Priest. I don't know how much he cares about Oath of Druids while he has Containment Priest.
Well, there's a Pirate Spellbone on the table, and red mana to activate it, although the red mana is going to go.
This is a good point. I think of Spellbomb as half of the combo. I forgot it actually has words on it other than win the game.
It's very good.
Very good. Bold statement.
It is. They knew what they were doing when they made Mirrodin.
Oh, it's very good in Mirrodin block. I'll give you that. Good limited card. I drafted plenty of them.
We need more sets like that.
Williams finds Force of Will on top of his library. Uses his Mana Drain mana for Jace the Mind Sculptor. Presumably, it's just brainstorm time. This feels like it's going to a game 3. I mean, it's felt that way for a while. There's a mentor that might actually just clean this up pretty quickly.
Shuhei probably should have boarded out Engineered Explosives, but maybe he doesn't have much else to bring in.
He might want it against Arcane Lab.
I mean, I think doesn't Shuhei have multiple copies of Engineered Explosives?
I don't know how many are still in his deck.
I thought I saw a lot of them in there. It's Engineered Explosives is a good card. It's usually weaker in this matchup than others.
Well, now we get to the strip mine side of the Crucible. Denies Shuhei red mana, so maybe David will risk this Mentor. Red mana off the top means the spell bomb could kill it. David doesn't have anything to trigger prowess with. I still like his line.
Dave, by the way. I'm not rooting against him. Like, because of him, it's just I'm seeing my deck having to deal with land still, and it's stressful.
Shuhei decides he needs to cycle the spell bomb. Oh, that actually gets the 7th card in his yard for Treasure Cruise. Oh, he found the tropical. He found the blue mana for Treasure Cruise, of course. I think you force this, right? Yeah, he's got 2 Force of Wills. Pitch Arcane Lab?
Yeah.
He pitches the misstep. Yeah, Shuhei's seen enough. It's like, fine, you got your Mentor going. I've got absolutely nothing going on. Shuhei knows he's just going to get that Tropical Strip Mine next turn and be back down to the solo Mox Emerald for mana. So on to game 3.
Those very early Crucible Strip Mines are just... They're also not supposed to happen that often with land still. The deck usually doesn't play much acceleration.
Chas asking about my interaction with Mirrodin. I was in R&D for Mirrodin. I started at Wizards R&D with Invasion as my first set. And basically did all the sets from Invasion through to about Lorwyn or so.
They were really good sets.
Thank you.
They're exciting.
Yeah, it was...
They don't get enough credit sometimes, like Onslaught, Odyssey. That stuff changed Magic forever. Fetch lands, Ravnica, and Kamigawa. I like Kamigawa. I think it's an underrated block, and you can see how much of an eternal impact it's had on the format when you see Vintage. There are so many cards from that block that are not just Vintage playable, but absolute Vintage staples, like Forbidden Orchard, Sensei's Divining Top, Gifts Ungiven has had a long sort of history in the format. Now even Arayo, Sword of Tommy's Ascendant, is coming back, and of course the Jite, Kataki. Am I back on?
Turn your camera back on. Our video flickered. So.
Oh, okay. How do I do that?
There's a little camera button that should have a line through it. Push it so the line goes away.
I just did. Can you see me?
You're back. Excellent. Shuhei pretty confident in his sideboarding. David taking his time. Might be thinking about sideboarding. Might also just be taking a lap. Trying to calm down. This is a big game 3 here. David has had a lot of fun being in Vintage Super League. I know he would love to get back in the league. I know he has a lot of fun playing, and we'd love to have him back too. So,
our house guests like him. They're like, "Who's that?" I was like, "That's David Williams." I think he's.
Shuhei has Orchard Oath again. No Mox this time. But Williams, what does Williams have? He can. I mean, assuming Shuhei leads Fetch Land, the Wasteland cannot prevent Shuhei from just playing a turn 2 Oath off of an Orchard. Is that what you see?
Yes.
David has none of his hate cards in his hand, and no Force of Will. He does have a Brainstorm. He does have a Misstep. He has a Top. I'm sure he likes those couple of Wastelands. It's not a great hand for David, but it might be good enough to keep. Do you keep David's hand?
It's serviceable. Yeah, it's
serviceable. That's a great word.
Serviceable. Not necessarily great for the matchup though, where you might really want early interaction. But in general, it's a serviceable hand. It's not an auto mulligan. It has draw and search. It has a mental misstep, which is so disgusting.
Keeps it. Draws Flusterstorm, which can't counter an enchantment. God, David's hand is actively good against everything except Oath. And specifically everything except Orchard to Oath. He's going to have to go for a Desperation Brainstorm, and somehow Shuhei has 3 mental missteps.
I know. And it can all go right down the tubes if David just top decks Disenchant or Containment Priest. Containment Priest, especially.
Wow. All right, here's the Oath of Druids. Yeah, David is going to crack for Brainstorm. Shuhei certainly should misstep. Dave will misstep back. Shuhei will have the second misstep. David will curse under his breath. Probably not under his breath, actually. Probably out loud.
Oh my god.
Yeah, here's the second misstep.
Welcome to New Phyrexia.
And Oath of Druids resolves. David has a creature against his will. Now he knocks on top of his deck, finds a
Oh boy.
standstill. Oh, David's hand would be amazing against everything except Orchard plus Oath. So now what? Top activated. I don't even know what he can draw at this point, right?
Right. I suppose theoretically, if he played the top, which might get misstepped,
Fair point.
he, it, he might be able to do something, but not with that misstep there. Like if he blind drew Ancestral Recall and it went into Lotus, Containment Priest, and of course redraw the Sensei top, maybe that would get there.
Yeah, there's the misstep. I think Shuhei's correct to misstep it. Dave's going to Flusterstorm, sure. Makes sense. I don't know how he gets his way out of this, though. What an unbelievable sequence of draws Shuhei has had tonight. He had to win 3 matches. He had to come all the way from the very beginning of the losers bracket. He beat Tom Martell. He beat Kai. And now here he is against David Williams. Oath of Druids in play in the deciding game of our final match of our evening.
Now, if he decks himself, I think a lot of people are going to be crying.
Auriok Salvagers, 35 cards left in his library. Did he mill the Lotus?
Even if he doesn't, it's okay. That's just so much value.
No Black Lotus yet, so no. He milled the Spell Bomb, but not the Lotus.
I think his list might not have had Sensei's Divining Top. And I really like Sensei's Divining Top because sometimes you get these Ariok mills that don't. Well, a lot of times you get them and they don't go all the way because the point in the deck isn't like, ha ha ha, I'm going to Oath up Ariok and have the Bomberman combo every time. It's just. It's kind of
you just get a couple of cheap artifacts, right? You got the Mox Sapphire here.
It's just all about accumulation of value, even on the margins, and being able to slither around all the different types of hate strategies that someone
Williams
might.
Does get to look at the top 3 cards of the Divining Top. He gets to try to find the right card. Plow is maybe the card he wants here.
Stony Silence.
Force of Will, Stony Silence, yeah. Force of Will is what he comes up with.
See, this is a tough spot now because I don't know if Shuhei boarded in more creatures, but now if he only has one other creature, it could be too risky to Oath.
David attacks in with the Spirit, hoping Shuhei will block it so that he can't Oath, or so that David can Oath, but Shuhei just takes the damage. Now what? Now, would you Oath if you're Shuhei here?
No.
You would just say, I can probably win from here. I'll just get all the Moxes out of my graveyard and then go to my Jace. Of course, you'd have a third creature in your deck, and then
He
you
has,
would have, because you'd have a third creature.
Does he have a Pirate Spellbomb in his graveyard?
Yes.
I would bring that back.
Well,
No,
here's the spirit. Gets back the Soul Ring.
Mm-hmm.
His Shuhei could deck himself here. Does he activate the Oath? It's optional.
Right.
He's thinking. He does activate the Oath. There's Grizzlebrand. 15 cards left in his library.
That worked out.
That worked out. Did he hit the Lotus?
And I'll tell you, it can lull
Still
you
has
into
not
a
hit the
false
Lotus.
sense of confidence that it will always work out, and it often does.
Uses Grizzlebrand's ability to draw 7 cards. I think we had a little bit of lag on our hand cam, but I saw Shuhei's life total go down, so there's all the cards. Off screen, there's a Force, and did I hear a Time Walk? Time Walk's a good card here. Six mana, he can, in theory, play the Jace and the Time Walk. Wow. Looks like Shuhei Nakamura is going to win this match.
Looks good for him.
Hard to deal with an Oath player who draws Forbidden Orchard Oath at the beginning of the game. I mean, that's just... He drew a lot of that combination. He's also a very good Magic player. I mean, that helps too. David feels forced to point his Force of Will at the Time Walk. Makes sense. And we've officially crossed midnight, even on the West Coast.
It's 3
night, but a lot of good Magic. This has been a fun night, even if it's been long.
It was
I
good.
think we've got some great players for this season of VSL.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess that was going to be true no matter who won. Time Walk was fended off, but Jace still resolves for Shuhei. Doesn't actually have anything in his hand to defend himself with. I mean, it's not... I mean, if David...
think he did Time Walk, didn't he?
Oh, he forced to defend it? Oh, that's what happened. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. He used his Force of Will to counter David's, of course.
Is he not attacking with Grizzlebrand?
It still got Summoning Sickness. This is the turn he oathed it into play.
Oh, okay. So he'll take another turn after this.
He will.
All right.
Now, if he activates Oath of Druids, he really will wreck himself.
No, don't do it.
10 cards left in his library. Just say no. Do not want to activate Oath of Druids.
No. All right, so he must be thinking about something. Now he's attacking.
Games that the Oath deck wins tend to be quite lopsided. They look about like this.
There it is.
And there it is. Congratulations to Shuhei Nakamura.
Congratulations, Shuhei.
We have our first Japanese player in the Vintage Super League. Time zones from all over the world. This has been awesome. Shuhei has a spot. You have a spot. Paul Rietzel has a spot. And Stephen Menendian has reclaimed his spot in the league. We have one spot left. Tune in next week. We'll get to see who that last spot is going to be. Let's recap what's gone on tonight. We saw Stephen Menendian beat David Williams. We saw Paul Rietzel beat you. Of course, you and David had the redraw, if you will. That was only your first loss. So down on the loser side of the bracket, Shuhei Nakamura starts out all the way on the left. Played the first match against Tom Martell about 6.5 hours ago they started. Shuhei beat Tom, he beat Kai, and then he beat David Williams to earn that spot in the league. Meanwhile, Bob Maher knocked out Caleb Durward, but fell to you. Fun night of Magic. 4 of our Vintage Super League, new members for the Vintage Super League are known. 3 new players. Got definitely going to be a season with some new blood, which is cool. Stephen Menendian back into the league, and tune in next week where we will have the 8 players who failed to qualify out of these 12 come back, new decks. They can bring whatever decks they want. We're going to play 1 single elimination tournament, 7 matches of Magic, and the winner takes that final spot. So thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Come back same time next week. We will see you then.
Have a good night or morning.